The Gallagher Shots podcast is sponsored by Tyre Spot, the North East's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Alright, and welcome back to your Gallagher Shots match preview. Now, away day glory has finally arrived, but now the lads return to their home turf, and we are there to face a Spurs side who are next to us in the league, but have lost their last two league games and are actually a team that we've already beaten at St James's Park this season. I am your host, Joe, and join with me to preview this one is Andy and Dasmo. Lads, thank you for joining me.
How do?
I'm just going to get straight into this, lads. I'm still absolutely buzzing after that Everton result. The way we performed was incredible. An absolute contrast to what we've seen for so much of the season. Andy, I mean, how are you feeling after that, man? You must be pretty buoyed. Must be thinking that, things are maybe turning around. Like, what's your thoughts?
I don't know. I'm still stuck in Marseille Stadium. What's been going on?
You're doing this from the bogs, are you?
Yeah, not that specific cubicle, no. But I did find it funny that they had a steward outside the cubicles at Everton. But anyway, I've gone off on a massive tangent already. Really happy. I think you made the point before the Everton game in the preview, Joe, about which game do we take more confidence from in terms of everything, in terms of do we look at the Man City game or do we look at the Marseille game in terms of how we're feeling about the team? And I agreed that I think we had to probably lean more on the Man City game, because the Marseille game was such a sort of a new thing for us to go to such a hostile stadium, and then to go to Everton and a team where, last season we'd have said, oh, we'll blow them away, we're really good. But this year it just felt like that could be another bogey team, another away stadium, the Jordan Pickford effect, the new stadium effect. And to go there and blow them away like we did, I think it puts us in really good stead. We've got that monkey off our back with the away win. We know we're going to be good at St James's, but the away form will bring the home form as well, because it's not like we've been absolutely amazing at home either. So it'll be really good just to go into a game with a bit of confidence. And, suddenly if we win this game, we're suddenly flying again. It's amazing how quickly things can change. And I know we'll get into it, but it just feels like we can rotate a bit. It feels like there's confidence in the back and up front. It's good to see Ramsdale play. We'll talk about him as well. So generally, I think it feels sort of good again, and I'm ready to have the balloon burst already. But at the minute, it feels all right.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, like you say, the league table's so tight still that it only takes a couple of results. I'm just looking at the table now. I mean, we're 13th. Spurs are 12th. We're both on 18 points. It's only goal difference separating us. But realistically, even up until Arsenal, Arsenal on 30, but under that, it's still really tight. And it won't take much to get us up the table. But I think having the fullbacks back, Daryl, we've said this so many times, but they've made such a difference, haven't they? When that was evident against Everton, it was unbelievable how much space it created and how players like Voltamata were just able to come back into the game. I mean, it's just more of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's been transformational having them in the side, and it's, there was times at Everton on Saturday where both fullbacks were in advance of Voltamata, who's the striker.
The two strikers.
Lewis. Yeah, exactly. And it's such a refreshing thing. And when they both came back into the squad against Man City, and we obviously got the win against them at St James's, and I was like, who knew that we'd miss them so much, and how much of a difference they make to us as a team? Yeah. Exactly.
You, Andy, I think everyone. Respect to Dan Burn and Trippier, but it was obvious that we were missing them, wasn't it?
Yeah, and to go into Saturday's result down at Everton, I mean, again, it was just a wonderful bit of team football, and everybody played their part. And I know we're going to get onto it, but it'll be interesting to see how we rotate around this as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's get onto it, because obviously against Everton, there were quite a few changes. I think it was a 5 or something in total, which is not unexpected given the fact we played Marseille away earlier in the week. Players like Tonali had played 90 minutes for most games leading up to the Everton one. So it was obvious that there were other players that were going to come in. But Andy, the players like Miley Like, what a fantastic game he had. Alanga, okay, right, he's still not hitting the heights that we want him to, but he got the assist and he was, keeping the fullbacks busy. I mean, Dan Burn shifting back into centre back to partner Malik Chow. And we've already spoken about the fullbacks as well. And it's great to see that these lads are coming in and stepping up and performing when some of the other lads needed a break. But realistically, we are going to have to sub a few of the lads who did miss that game or only played a couple of minutes in, aren't we? Because you can't expect with the schedule that's coming up, well, that really we're in the middle of now, that the same lads are going to be playing, week in, week out. So what kind of changes do you expect to make and what kind do you want to see, to be honest? Because we've shown that it doesn't take much for us to change our style, so we've kind of got to be a little bit careful, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the Miley one was the one I was probably most happy with because we managed to get away with a win away from home, which is amazing in itself, but without putting Tonali on the pitch at all, who's obviously been the most consistent player all season in terms of number of minutes he's played. I mean, with Miley, obviously hit that absolute rocket to get his goal. Nothing any keeper could have done about that one. Well, maybe
Stormer, top corner.
Yeah, top bins. But Miley, he sort of he doesn't really ever seem to get any momentum in the team. He comes in, he looks all right, and then he gets put out, and then he comes back, and it's like, oh, can Miley step up? We're always asking that question of him. But every time I've seen him this season, even when he came on at right back against Marseille, he looked really assured. He doesn't really look like he's going to give up the ball easily. He's definitely put a bit of timber on. He looks a bit stronger. He looks a bit quicker as well. And obviously he took the corner for the first goal. Great corner. How many times have we sat in the stands gone, our corners are shit? And he just pulls one up, puts it straight in for Chow. So really happy with him. So I wouldn't mind seeing him play again, to be honest, maybe for Joe Linton this time around. I think Joe Linton, that Everton game, it was an ideal one for him, where you're not necessarily going to have lots and lots of the ball. He's just there to be an enforcer, turn it over, lay it off to the better players. I think at home against Spurs, I see us controlling the game a bit more, and I'd like to see someone like Miley, just that extra bit of quality on the ball with Tonali and Bruno. I think that at home, that's maybe our best midfield. But then you look at someone like Ramsey, and it's like he's not really getting a game now either. That's a whole other conversation. But I'll move on. I think the main other one for me is probably Alanga on the right wing. It's his first actual output in terms of numbers for the team. It looked like a simple pass, but I actually think he did really well for that Voltemada goal. He gets to the ball first, and he has to show quite a bit of composure because he's sort of fallen back as he hits it, and he lays it across perfectly. But again, I think maybe this is the time where if you're going to be at home, if they are going to defend, you might just need someone like Murphy just to whip the crosses in. So I do think that'll be maybe two changes we'll see. And I don't know whether, Daryl, you want to sort of talk about the defence, because that's obviously... We've gone from having the most settled defence ever the past couple of years, and now it's like, what do we do? Apart from Chow, it's quite hard to predict, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the only one I would probably think about changing on Tuesday night would probably be Dan Burn, and even then, it's not guaranteed because Sven Botman's got this back problem that's keeping him out of the last couple of games, and looks set to keep him out at least the next couple as well. To be honest, there's a concern about putting and getting as many minutes out of Hall and Tino as possible, but at this point in time, it's the only way forward because we do so well with them both in the team. And I'd love to see us do that sensibly. And, we saw it against Marseille and we saw it against Everton. Obviously, Marseille is slightly different, but to get as many minutes out of them as possible and then be able to bring them off and protect them in a manner, wherever, however you decide to make that change to replace them. But for me, at least three of that back four are nailed on starters, and you cannot deny Malik Chow after the Everton game. Absolutely fantastic display from him, and it's a solid defense. I would say in terms of the front three, I think Elanga is probably a smart choice to start the game because you've got Pedro Porro playing for Spurs at fullback, and he can get up and down the pitch, and I'd rather have Elanga there to attack the space that he might leave behind when he goes forward. Murphy will give you the defensive side of that, but might not necessarily give you the attacking threat going forward the other way. And on the other side, I think Harvey Barnes is still in decent form. It's Gordon's position to try and win back, and at this point in time, I think he needs to be fighting from the bench on Tuesday against Spurs, and maybe he can think about doing or fighting his way back into the team over the next few games from the bench.
I mean, on that though, Daryl, for the Everton game, we saw players come in that have come in out of the cold, basically. Players like Miley, not that, they were not performing when they came on, but, just players that hadn't really had much of a look in. And I said in the Everton matchday vlog that we did, which is now up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Great
if you
listen,
haven't
by the way.
listened to it already. Yeah. Well, I said before the game that these players that came in need to step up and take the mantle from the lads who have performed, most of the season. So does that not extend to Gordon though as well? I know he's lost his place to Barnes on merit, and rightly so, but Barnes has played a lot of football, and this game has come only 3 days after the Everton game where Barnes played most of it. Is it a case that Gordon, despite his lack of form, has to then come in and prove himself? It's an opportunity almost forced upon him to say, this is your time now. Give Barnes a bit of a break. Gordon, it's your time to step up. If you don't, you've either got Barnes to come on, potentially Jacob Ramsey, who we saw come on as well.
Willock's been getting lots of game
Willock,
time as well.
Yeah, Willock
so
as well.
There's competition for these spaces, but realistically, Gordon is the one who you want to be that first choice, at least pushing Barnes to get back into the team. I almost feel like it's necessary for him to come in and then prove himself the way that some of the other players did against Everton. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if he doesn't start on Tuesday night, I think that the door's wide open for him to start on Saturday, and that would be the perfect time to rest Barnes ahead of the big game in Leverkusen the following week. So the opportunity is there, and again, it's nice to have this depth to be able to rotate properly. We have those options, and I think Gordon will probably get a chance from the bench on Tuesday. And again, it's like you say, it's laying down the challenge to him. He's now on a finite amount of time in the game to stamp his mark and make his case to start the following game. And to me, that's the best way to do it, is to have that kind of motivation, because you then get a bit more of a boost out of a player who's more desperate to play in the next game.
But on the flip side, you look at Hall and Livramento, who have no competition at all, and they're our best performers every week. So for me, I get what you're saying with Gordon, but I feel like if I'm a professional athlete at an elite level like Gordon is, in terms of playing in the Premier League, you shouldn't need the motivation of losing your place. You should just want it all the time. And I think he's been playing devil's advocate a bit, because I don't fully agree with this, but he's one of those players that when we say that we're only up for the big games, he's always the person that you look at. But Spurs at home to push on in the league, it's like, there you go, there's your mantle, there's your stage, go and do it. So I agree. And the only other thing we haven't sort of mentioned as well, in terms of competition, we're potentially going to have competition in the number 9 soon as well. So Voltemada's going to be looking over his shoulder thinking, bloody hell, this guy looks quite good in training. He's not going to Congo. Bollocks, I thought he was going to be disappearing for 2 months. I'd get a scot-free running the team again. But yeah.
Well, I mean,
to be fair, that's best for Voltemada as well, though. It's like the situation where we've had the last time we were in the Champions League, and we played that same 11 for about 12 or 13 games in a row, and they were all absolutely paggered by the end of it. And it's going to be refreshing for Voltemada to be able to come off, and for us to then have the strength to bring on an experienced striker who, let's remember, scored as many open play goals as Alexander Isak, the man who we shall not mention last season. Exactly.
He scored one goal in 7 hours.
Somebody with a known...
He's back.
But yeah, somebody with that prowess in the league, in the English game anyway, it's important to have that strength. And however soon it is when he comes back, and here he comes when he comes on the pitch of the Stadium of Light, and he comes on and bags a couple of goals, who knows? But it's one of the things, that it's refreshing for Voltemada, and Voltemada then also have that thing hanging over him that's like, I need to keep performing here, otherwise this guy's going to go and take my place. So it's refreshing to have that dynamic within the squad.
Yeah. So for anyone who didn't see or hear in Eddie Howe's press conference on Monday, he said that Wissa had his first 11v11 training session on the grass today with the squad. So it's sounding like, it's hard to say because he won't give a date as to when he's actually going to be back, understandably, but there's a chance he could make the bench, even if it's just to get him used to the matchday squad. I can't see him making an appearance tomorrow. It'll be too early. But, I mean, even this weekend, there's a chance, which is great, like we say, for competition. The last bit of competition we really need to talk about is the number 1 spot. Because in what was probably the most surprising omission, and what definitely was the most surprising omission and change on Saturday, is that Ramsdale came in for Pope, which again, I said on the
Because
vlog, would
Pope
be
was
something
injured.
completely, because Pope was injured. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Eddie Howe refused to give a comment on his status
Bruce
as to
Eagle.
how Pope actually was. He said he would assess him today as to how his injury was, this mysterious thing. But we said before the team sheet came out that it would be very uncharacteristic of Howe to actually drop Nick Pope, given how much of a permanent position keeper is, and it sends a lot more a stronger statement, so to speak, if he were to drop Nick Pope as opposed to an outfield player. But Ramsdale came in. He did well, in my opinion. His distribution was good, and the defense just seemed really confident with having him in between in the sticks. So, I mean, I don't think this Nick Pope situation's going to go away anytime soon in terms of what happens. However, is it a case, Andy, that just Ramsdale retains his place? He hasn't done anything to lose it, and if Nick Pope's injured, then he's injured.
Yeah, I think I'm being cynical. I don't think Nick Pope is injured, but I just think it's a much easier situation to manage to say he misses out, Ramsdale gets his place, and then it's his place to lose. It's not then like it's a competition between the two. It's just him fighting for his place. But I agree. I think I wasn't quite calling for Pope out as early as everyone else, but after that Marseille game, I was. I think there's only so many times you can see your keeper give up chances, give up the ball, give up howlers away from home, but it was time to change. And, Ramsdale's no mug. He's not really a number 2 keeper at all. We've signed a really, really high level number 2. And if you're going to have him there, we got him for his distribution and because he's a decent keeper. And for me, you've got to put him in. And I agree. I think he did really well against Everton. I saw like a pass map, which is weird that we have to look at pass maps for keepers. But he only actually gave the ball away after we were 3-0 up. So up until that point, he was basically flawless with his hands and his feet. I don't think he really could have done anything about the goal. I think it's just a great touch and a finish. I think he probably will be a bit flappier in terms of his shot stopping than Pope. But I think the way we play and the way everyone plays in the Premier League this year, with how high they press and how much they target Pope, if you want to be an elite team like we do, you've got to have a keeper that can play a 10-yard pass. But he was doing more than that. He was splitting the midfield. The first goal comes from a really good distribution as well. So I think it's like we said with across the pitch, it's his place to lose. And for me, he's got to keep it until he makes a series of mistakes, because that's the level of patience we gave Pope. It was a series of mistakes, not just one. So I hope he's afforded that same patience, really.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. He was. I mean, Ramsdale really just offered that kind of distribution in those passing lanes that Pope just cannot do. For all, as you just said, for all good shot stopping Nick is. Yeah, it's been refreshing, hasn't it? And we'll see what happens, because that could really unlock new ways of playing for us. And we're just going to wait.
The point you made about confidence is massive as well. Like your defense having people like Chow having the confidence to go back to your keeper and open up a pass. But same for the midfield, like asking for the ball to feet, knowing you can get it off him rather than just being spooned out wide. So I really hope we play him again.
There was a point in the second half where Ramsdale just pinged a really low driven pass straight down the middle. I think I don't know if it was a Voltemada it went to or Bruno. It was one of the two in the middle, but either way, that then set off an attack, and it's just something we've just not seen before. So it's really good to see. I want to talk a bit about Spurs, because they seem to have quite a promising start under Thomas Frank, and they've been a bit inconsistent, so to speak. I mean, they just come off a 5-3 defeat against PSG. They lost against Arsenal 4-1, and then obviously Fulham 2-1 just at the weekend. But at the same time, they do look dangerous, and they've got some decent players in. Richarlison seems like he is bagging a few goals in. The defense does seem okay. I mean, Daryl, Kudos is actually playing for them. He's actually, he's actually playing for this team. So what have you made of them?
Well, you mentioned there some of the goals. They are very capable of scoring goals from across the pitch. I mentioned Porro earlier. He's capable of bagging a couple of goals. Van der Ven's on some sort of major scoring run this season. He's bagged a good few goals already. Kudos as well. And obviously Richarlison up front. But I think one of the things I would take away from Spurs this season is that they're actually quite frequently the masters of their own downfall. I mean, you just have to look at the second goal they conceded against Fulham on Saturday night, when Vicario got a case of Nick Pope's and ended up out on the wing. And then the Fulham lad just bent it in from out on the wing and it just went straight into the middle of the goal. And you mentioned earlier as well, it sort of seems to have stemmed from when they played us in the cup. Everything was going well, and then it's just fallen apart a little bit. But you mentioned there that result for them in Paris. Now, as much as they lost that game, they were 3-2 up at one point, I think. And they are very dangerous. They just don't seem to be able to hold on to leads.
They're still Spursy, aren't they?
Still Spurs. Yeah,
he hasn't got rid of that monkey off the back at all, and it's a shame for them really, because I think Frank's a good manager. I just think with Spurs they're just always going to be that way until there's massive change. Yeah. So I think in terms of the keeper, they had the second choice in for the cup game, and he had a bit of a clanger as well. So hopefully more of the same would be good.
Yeah. And we, like I said at the start of the show, we have beat them once before already in the cup, so that's nothing if not a lot of confidence for the lads to take into this, really. So Daryl spoke about both teams, but why don't we talk about the man in the middle? Tell us who's going to be refereeing the game.
So the man in the middle for the game will be Thomas Bramall. It's his first Newcastle game of the season. The last time we saw Thomas Bramall was for the 4-0 win against Leicester City way back on the 14th of December last year. So nearly a full year since we last saw him. And that was on match day 16 of the 24-25 season there. It's his 8th Premier League game of the season overall this season. And he's going to be assisted on VAR by Paul Tierney. Again, Paul Tierney's I mentioned it a couple of games ago when we saw him. That was for the Brighton game. That was the last time that we saw him. We've also seen him... it was the Brentford game. We'd also seen him on Brighton. So we last saw him for that Brentford game, which was a 3-1 defeat away on match day 11. His third game coming up on Tuesday night with us this season, and then he also did that 2-1 loss at Brighton. So see if our fortunes are different when he's VAR for a home game. It's his 13th VAR appointment of the season, and I keep mentioning this stat because I think it's quite important. He hasn't actually refereed a Premier League game since May of 2024. So he spent all of last season off the pitch. We suspect, and I've said this before as well, suspect that he had some sort of injury that he hasn't fully recovered from. He's done a few EFL games this season, but we haven't seen him referee a Premier League game.
Referee injuries.
A long time.
The game's gone.
He has. He's done a whistle, yeah, exactly.
He's done a whistle.
Just standing. Exactly. None of them run anyway. They all just stand in the centre circle these days. You just stand there.
I know. Right, cheers, Dasmo. Shall we?
No worries.
Well, actually, last thing before we get on to the scores, I just want to say if you made it this far and you haven't subscribed already, please do. It's free to do. Or if you want to give back, it's just $2.99 for a membership, and you get early access to videos like this, as well as access to the Telegram group as well, where we've got loads of members talking all things Newcastle. And make sure to follow us on socials like Instagram, that's just Gallagher_shots. We've got loads of content that we're doing there and plenty more that we're going to be posting in the coming weeks. Right, score predictions. Let's do it. So I'm actually going to kick this off because you know what? After that Everton result, I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling good. I feel like I'm feeling lucky. Yeah, I think it's going to be goals galore in this one. Both teams have had a set of fixtures, so there's going to be a bit of rotation for both teams, and I can see maybe some tired legs making some mistakes. So I think we're actually going to come out 3-2 winners. God. So we'll see. But Andy, what do you think, mate?
Well, I think that the fact the game kicks off at 8:15 is a disgrace, by the way. The game.
Oh, yeah, we haven't even mentioned that. I want to go.
That's a whole other conversation. It's a disgrace. I'm going to be back home at like 1:30. It's like Marseille all over again. I went to Marseille, by the way. I haven't mentioned it.
In case you didn't mention.
I think we'll actually keep a clean sheet. I actually think this will be a nice, comfortable game for us. And I don't think Spurs are any mugs by any stretch of the imagination. I just think they're having a bit of an identity crisis and a bit of a confidence crisis at the minute. I don't think Frank has got them to play his way yet. And I just think it'll be like when Spurs come to our place where we just control the game and win. So I'm actually going to be confident. And this might be naive, but I'm going to be confident and say we'll win 2-0.
Take that. Daryl, what do you think, mate?
I think it'll be quite a tight game, actually, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. I'm going to go for Big Nick to get one, and I fancy Tonali to bag one as well.
You fancy Tonali?
For them,
I mean, we all
Van
do.
de Ven, just for fantasy league purposes, that's all.
Yeah. Brilliant. So 3 wins all round. I mean, yeah. Why not? Why not? If the lads perform like they did against Everton, then there's no reason why we can't beat anyone, to be honest with you. We've shown on a day. We just beat Man City last week. Yeah, we lost against Marseille, but I mean, there's reasons for that. But it's good to see. I said it on Saturday against Everton that this feels like, I don't want to jinx it too much, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it feels like a new chapter in the season, given everything that's kind of coming together for us. And it feels like it's almost a chance for a fresh start. We've got Wissa coming back soon. We've got the fullbacks back. The lads are rotated nicely. So let's just see how we get on. But yeah, if we can keep this home form up and get the results in, then there's no reason why we can't just climb back up the table. We want to take a couple of results. So let's keep it going and get some momentum going, ahead of the derby. That's going to be a couple of weeks away. We're not going to delve into that too much. There's a time and a place for that. But, it is looming. Anyway, thanks, Daryl, and thanks, Andy, for joining me on this one. I've been your host, Joe. Let us know in the comments what you think for the prediction. Do you think we're going to follow up against Everton, or do you think it could be another clanger against Marseille? I mean, I bloody hope not. But we'll see what happens. I have been your host, Joe. This has been your Gallagher Shots Match Preview, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.